Hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Zaid Abdullah, and I'm one of the few Muslim American students here at Jones College Prep. Growing up in a predominantly Caucasian grade school, I never believed there were any differences between my classmates and I. Although I followed different practices than the rest, I believe we were all equal in some sense. Every day I would drive to school, I would enjoy my day, and I would safely drive home. Never confused, never afraid, never scared to show my true identity. Now, although I'm from Chicago, my family's roots stem from India and Pakistan. My mother coming from India, and my father coming from Pakistan. Growing up, we followed the basic practices of Islam. However, I cannot say we were strict followers of the religion by any stretch of the imagination. Ever since birth, I've refrained from the consumption of pork while trying to pray at least once or twice a day. Very little compared to the 5 mandatory daily prayers. Now, since the event which found me singled out from the rest of my classmates, I couldn't imagine a world in which people were looked at differently due to the color of their skin. At least to me, this concept doesn't make sense. Are we not all created equally as individuals? Different thoughts, different perspectives, different ideas, all coming together to make the United States of America. Now, before I kind of kick off my story, I'd like to ask a quick question to all of you, and you guys can kind of take a minute to think about this. What were you doing at the age of 13? Was it playing video games? Just finishing middle school? Just starting puberty? Because while I was doing all those things a normal 13-year-old boy does, I was simultaneously learning that due to the color of my skin, I would never be looked at the same way as everyone else. In 2013, my middle school teachers announced that we would be venturing on a trip to Washington, D.C. There, we spent days riding the Washington Metro, visiting museums, and learning about the ideals which made for the foundation of our country. Towards the end of our trip, our teachers announced that we would be visiting the Holocaust Museum, a monument known for celebrating equality and honoring those who were left behind during the tragic events of the 1930s and 1940s. It was a cold winter morning. After standing in line for what felt like an eternity, our class began running out of songs to sing and games to play to keep us entertained in line. As I was one of the first students in line, I was able to enter the museum before anyone else. I remember taking off my coat in the warm building, feeling a rush of relief on my face. As I walked through the metal detector, I listened out to the shrill beeping, indicating I had triggered the machine. No notice. I slipped on my belt, grabbed my backpack, and carried on towards my teachers. All was well until I heard a guard call out to me. "Excuse me, sir. Could you step over here for a minute?" I stepped into a secluded security room, feeling a mixture of fear and confusion. As I sat down in the gray chair, I placed my backpack on the table in front of me, as I watched the rest of my students go through security. Now, as I watched this, one thing stood out to me. None of the other students were pulled aside for a random check. Each student looked at me confused as I watched them through the window, wondering as to why I was stuck by myself in security. Frankly, I didn't know either. I mean, I had gone through security completely clean too, right? However, I just tried to comply with security and get to my classmates as soon as I could. Sitting in the gray chair, I saw one of the guards approaching as he asked me to stand, indicating that he wanted to pat me down. I began placing my arms above my head as I realized that my phone was still in my hand. Now, 13-year-old Zaid, trying to be polite, began placing his phone into my pocket, when I suddenly felt I was restricted from any further movement. I didn't know what was going on. Fear rushed through my 13-year-old head as I tried to figure out what to say. I was just trying to help. However, the guard obviously did not care to listen. I saw him patting around his waist as he realized he didn't have his wand on him. He called over 2 other guards to watch over me. One, tall blonde woman, stood in front as her colleague began searching my bag. Close to tears, I remember sitting there in silence, surprised that none of these guards were fazed by the situation at hand. As I looked to my right, my jaw dropped as I watched the guard aggressively dump the contents of my bag on the table in front of him. But what did he find? A water bottle, a pair of headphones, a map of Washington D.C, and my coat. At this point, almost close to tears, I see the other guard walking my way with his wand. Again, I stand up, listening to the shrill beeping indicating I had triggered the machine. And after one wand down, of course, no noise. At this point, I was more than scared. After around 30 minutes, the guard said I was free to go and pointed back down at the table in front of me. A water bottle, a pair of headphones, a map of Washington, D.C, my coat, and what was now my backpack completely turned inside out. I put my belongings back in my bag and quickly exited the room. Now, upon leaving the room, I couldn't bring myself to turn back around to the guards. What had just happened? Why didn't it happen to anyone else? All the thoughts of a young 13-year-old Zaid, who at the beginning of the day believed that this was just going to be another trip to a museum. As I left the room, I heard one of my teachers call out to me as he asked if I was okay. And I answered with a quiet yes. But after that exchange, it was over. No one else came and talked to me. No one else asked what had happened. It was a bit odd. It was as if everyone in my class understood what had just occurred, yet no one cared to act on it, let alone ask how I felt. After that, it was over. I walked the museum halls by myself as I watched each group of students huddling together, pointing and staring, whispering among themselves about what had just occurred. However, I just chose to ignore it. Something I now realize I never should have done. Now, this was the first of many instances in which I would be pulled aside by a security guard based on the color of my skin. And I realized this had to end. As the 2016 class elections grew near, I decided to run for class president. Now, in running for president, I wanted to run on a platform of equality and inclusion, making sure that all Jones students felt both positive and comfortable at all times. Now, this included doing things such as playing music in the passing periods to boost students' moods before going to class, or even giving out elevator passes during the month of Ramadan for the Muslim students who didn't have enough energy to climb up the 7 flights of stairs at our school every single day. In running for president, I wanted people to associate my face with that of great leadership, dedication, and fantastic musical taste. I wanted people to recognize the diverse cultures which surround us every single day around you all the time, so that maybe next time someone of my skin color is pulled aside by security, maybe you'll say something about it. In this situation, which found me singled out from the rest of my classmates, I learned that who I really was and who society saw me as were two completely different people. I learned that when I would go to the airport with my family, we would expect to be pulled aside by TSA, for reasons not initially clear to me. I learned that I would have to fight for my faith, to show others that Islam truly does mean peace. However, most of all, I learned that Islamophobia is an issue which must be dealt with today to ensure Muslim Americans the equality they deserve. And this was all at the age of 13. Thank you.